is simply terrifying. It is another Wednesday, which means it's Watch Wednesday. And what do we have today? We're going to go back in time to comfort TV. Okay. This is all the shows we used to watch back in the day. Like, does anyone remember TGIF? That was like the thing. It was 4 shows where, like, I swear it was 2 hours. 2 hours, 4 shows. It started at like, did it start at 8? 7? I have no idea. It's been a long time, let's be honest. But I'm talking about shows like Full House, Boy Meets World, Family Matters, let's see, Step by Step. Yeah, and then there were some that were, had no part of TGIF. It was like shows like Friends, and I mean, there's got to be more. Home Improvement, maybe. Yeah, Sister Sister, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Sabrina the Teenage Witch. Keep it going. The Wonder Years was a little bit earlier than that. But anyway. So why was this part so great? Why was this called comfort TV? The golden era of comfort TV or sitcoms or whatever you want to call it. That had the built-in laugh tracks and everything else. What was so great about it? Like, why did we want to be there when it started to play? Honestly, I swear it was only 4 shows that came on, but it was Friday night. Like, you just knew it was TGIF. It was a whole thing. Okay, that was, I think, ABC. And Friends was on something else. But from the mid-90s to the early 2000s, these shows showed us different things in a very comforting way that were relatable a lot of the time. And then there are things that you notice later when you rewatch some, like as an adult compared to when you were a kid, that you're like, hey, how'd they slip that in there? Or obviously I wasn't getting it because I wasn't picking up on it, whatever. What kind of things did you watch? Like, what kind of messages were you looking for, hoping for? I know that things like Full House, honestly, I swear I watched all of these, and now the memory bank is a little bit drained. Like, I watched, you knew who Steve Urkel was, watching Family Matters and all that stuff, and you saw, like, moral things happening. Like, let's take a look. Let me see if I can do this better. Okay. So, every episode of Full House ended with a hug of some kind and, like, a moral lesson. Like, it's not right to steal, and you need to be polite, and all that. Like, there were so many things, but they played it off, and I mean, Uncle Jesse didn't hurt, you know what I'm saying? But there were so many things that you could relate to when it comes to, like, especially, like, dad and daughter stuff, or even just family stuff in general. It was just this good, wholesome thing. Now let's jump to, say, Family Matters. Family Matters was a standard family sitcom, okay? But it was the nerdy neighbor, Steve Urkel, and it emphasized, like, family loyalty, patience, all this stuff. But they had awesome things in there as well. Like, it just... I feel like some shows today are so empty and so void. And I wasn't a fan of, like, the laugh tracks and things like that. I like, that shit's annoying. Like, if something's funny, we laugh. I don't have to be told when to laugh. It's just something missing. Something we had then. And you don't even, like, it was just a show, right? You just watched it because it was something to watch at the time. But so many of those things actually stick with you and you don't even realize. I liked watching Friends. Friends started in 1994, ran 10 seasons, ended in 2004. I liked watching Friends because you got to see these 6 people, 3 guys, 3 girls, completely do crazy things in life, make these choices, end up in these situations, and, like, That was a long time ago. Okay, that was a long, long time ago. It was a couple months ago, I decided that, hey, I'm going to start watching this, and I'm going to have my oldest daughter, who's now 20. Okay? The year after it ended was the year that she was born. So, it's been some time ago. So, for her to be 20 and go back in time with me and start watching this from the get-go, from the jump, from the very first episode, was like, it's kind of like a full circle moment. And so I'm watching the show, but I'm also watching her watching it. And it's so nice that she can laugh at some of the stuff. She gets her character, favorites and picks in these situations, and like these things that come up that she's starting to come into contact with in life too. Like things at work and things with friends and all this stuff. It's just like these simple 25, 30-minute episodes of these shows carry so much more than just a couple laugh tracks and, ooh, you know what I mean? Like, they meant something. They delivered messages that people don't even try to hit these days. Like, now TV is only good TV if there's lots of murder, lots of sex. Swearing is a thing now where you can you can hear the word fuck on whatever thing you watch. Cartoons even say the fucking thing. It's a crazy time in TV. And maybe that was part of it. Maybe it was part of the innocent wrapping package. Like, they got away with things that you notice when you watch later in life that you don't pick up on as a kid. But it was so well done that it wasn't for shock value or anything. It wasn't to try to be the best. Like, the stories and the problems and the relatableness of it was something that hit so hard with a lot of people that I think of my shows now, like actual scripted shows. And we're talking like Mayor of Kingstown or Handmaid's Tale. Like, this is dark shit a lot of people are into now. And I'm right there. I'm one of them. But it's almost hard to take someone now who's like 20s and throw them back, because everything from that time seems so cheesy and just like, oh, okay, obviously that's not real, blah, blah, blah. Because they're not saying fuck and shit and everything, every other word. And there's not murder being shown, and they're not feeling each other up around every corner of every, time. It's just these things that didn't even have to be present for the show to be good, right? Then. And maybe that was part of the wholesome, good TV, capsule that just doesn't exist anymore. Like, now everything's just, it either has to be reality or dark in some kind of way or fucking twisted or has to have major hooks that are just like, okay. Like, I can't tell you anything about Lost except how it ended. And fuck that show. I would have been pissed if I would have been invested all that time just to have it end like that. Like, what? I know some people who were just straight, they felt it all the wrong ways, And even things like Stranger Things, scripted show, it was nice, all this, it took us back and was all this. But then you could see where some things they kind of got either too comfortable or they were just riding the wave and didn't have to try that hard. I didn't feel like shows back then, shows we used to watch is what the episode is called. Things like Friends, Full House, things like that. I didn't feel like they really had to shoot for the moon. It was a pretty simple formula, okay? You had X amount of time. Something has to happen. The characters have to be likable or relatable. And we have to make someone want to come back to see what happens next. And these shows went on for years. I think Full House went from, I think that was in the 80s, started 87? And that ran to like 1995. Like I said, Friends was 10 years. Like, everything had a good substantial run a lot of the time. And it just had, like, everyone had a favorite somebody. Everyone had a favorite episode. Everyone had a thing where they referenced multiple times, or they mimicked, or whatever, you know? You don't go around acting like Mayor of Kingstown, right? I mean, some people do. Some people do. But it's just like, why, what changed, I guess? You know, like, there were some that were kind of, some that overstretch, I guess. Like, as we started to get into the 2000s, shows like that 70s show, you could tell when shows started really were able to get away with more things and pushing more boundaries and just getting into deeper shit than just, you shouldn't steal, and, you know, sometimes we lose a friend, sometimes we lose a pet, blah, 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 blah. Like, the 90s versions, the sitcom comfort foods, comfort shows that we were used to, were good when they were good. And I feel like it may be even hard to sit through some of them now, just because, like, okay, well, it's a little corny, right? But look at what we fucking watch now. Like, you're someone who watched Step by Step, and now you're someone who watched The Handmaid's Tale. Those are two completely different things. Completely different characters, genres, lengths, just boundaries, non-existent, like. And if you're someone who's seen both, it's just crazy to see the parallel differences between the two. Like, even things like Game of Thrones. This is shit that would it have been rejected in the 90s? Like, obviously it would have only played on things like, you know, HBO, or, you know, shows you had to pay for, premium stuff. It couldn't get away with being cast on normal TV, normal airtime, stuff like that. No, they had to go through different situations to be able to get away with a lot of stuff, right? Or be played at very weird times, and the audience just wouldn't be there like it was for this time. Just like a lot of shows. But, like, why? I guess the sitcoms are just done, right? Like, some tried to. I watched a show, and it's called, what is it? Something about Kevin. Oh my God, what is it called? One moment, please. Let me look it up, because I really don't know. Shows about Kevin. What the? Kevin. I can't stand Kevin. Oh, Kevin. Got it. Okay. Okay, I got it. Had to take a second to step away, but we got it. The show is called Kevin Can Fuck Himself. Now, this hit a very specific nerve for me because of people that I once knew. And they just happen to share some similar names as people in the show. And so it was like, oh, hey, yeah, that really can happen. Let's check it out. This was like something that tried to mesh the sitcom world of the 90s and the dark shit of today. Melded it together in this weird crossover situation where half the show you're watching a staged sitcom laugh track filled show, you know, goofy, all this stuff and stuff going on, you know, but it's like the jokes are forced and the laughing's there, and like, and all of a sudden, you know, the female lead will walk into another room and all of a sudden now it looks like Walking Dead or something. Like, it's very, like, the picture's different, the scenery, just the way, the angles, the lighting, like, everything. Now it looks like we're watching a show from now. And it's dark. Like, there are some things, like, she wants to kill Kevin, you know? She's tired of being with this person. Kevin doesn't really exist in the real world. He lives in the sitcom side of the show, where he's this goofy fucking wide-eyed asshole, basically, who just does what he wants and drinks all the time and is just loud, obnoxious, and, you know, is horrible to his wife in different kind of ways. And she's just kind of done. And she lives in both sides, where she, you know, obviously takes the shit from him on the sitcom side, and then is able to cross over and come into the real world where she wants to end his life. So it's a very different show. And it's the first show I've ever seen that made me think, holy shit, this is a crossover like I've never seen before. This is something that's taken what I've known as a child, what I've watched many, many years of my early life, and is now crossing over with all the dark shit that I watch now. Like, this is, let's see where this goes. And there are some parts, like the sitcom side, where you're like, okay, I get it. Like, oh, this is so corny. And, like, that's how my kids feel about shows that I used to watch. Although, my daughter and I did make it through all of Friends, and she loved it. She had characters and everything else. There were other shows that started in the early 2000s that she'd also watched, like Desperate Housewives. Desperate Housewives was not a sitcom, okay? But this was an episode show that went on for 8 seasons and had, you know, a cast of characters who had more characters and different situations in life. Some relatable, some completely not, but a lot of them were. And the whole premise was it was around these few women who were desperate in one way or another, whether they were going insane with kids, whether they weren't happy in their marriage, but they were trying to make it appear to be, you know, they're fucking drowning, they're losing their own identities, like all of these things with these housewives. And just the problems they overcome, the things they do to themselves, the things they do to other people, how characters change, how they actually get a personality if they didn't have one, or how they're humbled if they have too much of one. Like, this went on for 8 seasons, and you just get to see the show play out. And that also had some dark things, but it also had, like, you know, a little bit of the sitcom feel, a little bit. There's a narrator in the whole thing, like the whole thing. And that kind of brings it together a little bit, but nothing that you see now. I mean, Kevin can fuck himself. That one was the closest one that I've seen these days to get anywhere near 90s sitcom-ish style and still be relatable today. So, I don't know. It's just, I understand why we don't have these shows anymore. It just is a little sad that we don't have anything comparable. I mean, there are shows that have values and lessons and different things if you want to find them, right? But it just sucks that once upon a time you would get home and want to be in front of your TV. You didn't want to miss it, right? But now we have, you know, we can do whatever, whenever. We can watch whatever, whenever, wherever, on our phones, on our computers, on our TVs. It doesn't matter. We can skip ads. We don't have to wait a lot of the time. And maybe that was part of it too, like not having everything we want right now, like having to wait, having to wonder what's going to happen next week. Especially if a show left you on a fucking hook, you know, and there was like a part 2 or something, you're like, oh my god, what's going to happen with Uncle Jesse on Full House? What's going to happen? Oh my god. And then you get in your feels, and then you have to wait a whole week before you come back and figure out what's going on with the story before they get their hug and their moral lesson is complete. Like, and then you just feel good. You just feel good. I don't know. It's weird that if you're someone who has seen like all sides of television, like from then to now, how different it is, how it's a crazy time we live in. I mean, I love it as far as, you know, having all the options and things like that, but I still think it's worth, especially if you have kids too, I think it's worth, you know, pulling something out from the past, like grabbing one of your favorite shows from way back then and just like plopping them down and giving them that little dose of moral something, it'll totally be corny. Okay? The acting will be like, okay. But, and the laugh tracks, they're going to be louder than ever. Like, you didn't even hear those as a kid a lot of times, right? You didn't hear them in the past. You're going to hear them now and you're going to be like, oh my gosh. And your kids will definitely hear them. Like, what the hell is that? Still worth it, though. Still worth it. When I watched Friends with my oldest, my second oldest, who refused to sit down and watch, she's like, I was like, you should watch it too. It's going to be funny. She's 17. She's like, no, I don't watch sitcoms. I don't like laugh tracks. Like, she's got this thing, like, she just knows what they are, okay? I was like, you should. You like it. You know, it's going to be funny. No, she just wasn't having it. However, there were some days where she happened to be in the room, and she most definitely, you know, she'd be, like, doing her own thing, but then you'd see the eyes on the TV and even smiles or, you know, even laughing some. But she won't tell you that. You know, she'd be, if you look at her, she's not even focused at all. But she ended up having favorites too. And she saw a couple episodes and she gets it, right? And eventually the laugh track fades right out. And you're able to pick up some shit and take it with you. So my oldest, who watched start to finish, ended up loving the shit out of it and, like, has her favorites, even started looking up different, like, merch stuff. This show ended in 2004. 21 years ago. No, 21? 22 years ago. Whatever the fuck. I don't know. She's 20. It came out a year before. It was a long time ago. And she's, like, looking for stuff to put in her room and stuff like that because she likes it so much. Like, just what it was, what it could be. She laughed. She cried. I know that shit does that to me today, but there was something about just the wholesome things you didn't have. Like, if you could play on those emotions and do all that without having all the freedom to say fuck or shit or damn, and, you know, to have the crushes without, you know, seeing Uncle Jesse's ass or something like that. Not that I would have complained, but but, you know, now all this stuff, this is normal today. And it didn't exist then. And they were still good. So it's just one of those things to kind of go back. The shit we used to watch. The shows we used to watch. Good, wholesome, loving message, all that stuff. If you have a favorite, leave it in the comments. Like, let's see if, I don't know, there were Sister, Home Improvement, Fresh Prince, Sabrina, like, it goes on and on and on. The 90s were full of different sitcoms and stuff. All the feel good trash you could want, man, you could have it. And then, like, they tried to bring it in with, like, that 70s show, that 90s, whatever, and different things. And sometimes it works and sometimes it took off and they had their own fans and stuff, but you really don't get the realness unless you watched the real shit from back in the day. So it's worth a watch. It's worth a rewatch. Some of them. Some I couldn't sit through today. Like, someone was like, okay, well, you realize that some become redundant a little bit if you've watched it a lot. But, I mean, hey, if you have kids, it's worth just throwing it out there just to see how they react, because sometimes it's funny. And sometimes it's a nice, brief little jot down memory lane. So, with that, thanks for tuning in for Watch Wednesdays, the shows we used to watch, golden nuggets of the 90s and whatever, early 2000s. So, with that, we're going to wrap it. This has been episode 13, and we will see you again. Wow. We will come back again, see you again, hear you, listen, holy wow, for episode 14. We'll just come back for 14. That's all. Have a great rest of your day, and thanks for tuning in. That was a struggle at the end, but we made it through. So this wraps up episode 13. We'll be back tomorrow with episode 14. I'm not going to tell you what it is. You just got to come back and look. So thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next time.